Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter depending where you are. Welcome to the February 12 edition of the Hoopball What to Watch for Fantasy Pre-Game Show. This is a Hoopball presentation, of course. Before we get into the game, so we have got 11 to go through, so quite a lot. And I am on a bit of a minute restriction, so we're going to try and get through them quick. But this, as I said, Hoopball presentation, we would really appreciate it if you guys could give us a thumbs up. There's a thumb somewhere down there, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So it's something that we've obviously had going for a while, the YouTube channel, but we're trying put a bit more time into it now, give it the attention that it deserves. So yeah, really appreciate it. Dan has already said on Twitter that he will give you a kiss. That's reason enough, I guess, to do it. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamKing91. Unlike Dan and Alan, my name is very easy to spell. So give me a follow, and follow at Hoopball Fantasy as well on Twitter. That's where you'll get all of our breaking news and that sort of thing. So as I said, 11 games. We're going to jump straight into them today. Try and get through it in about 15 to 20 minutes, hopefully. The first game of the night is the Wolves and the Hornets. So we have had some news in the last 5 minutes about that game. So for the Wolves, we'll start there. D'Angelo Russell is out again tonight. And for the Hornets, Cody and Caleb Martin are both out due to health and safety protocols. And PJ Washington ruled out about 5 minutes ago for health and safety protocols as well. So Devontae Graham is going to play. That also was just announced. So that's some good news for them. In terms of who I'm watching for the Wolves, it's going to be Jalen McDaniels, who has looked really good in the last couple of games. He's sort of jumped over Jared Vanderbilt a bit, I suppose, in terms of who we are watching. So keeping an eye on him, and also just Ricky Rubio as well. He looked fairly comfortable in the last game with Towns back on the floor. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays today. He's got that starting role again. So I've actually added him in a league this morning, hoping that he can keep doing what he's doing, and it would be good to see the scoring come back up, but it's more the assists and steals that we're looking at. For the Hornets, Washington was someone I was going to be watching tonight, but we're not anymore. So I guess with him out, Zeller's going to be really busy. Miles Bridges gets a boost, and he's probably worth picking up. He's been good the last few games, and with Washington out, he's going to get even more minutes. And Bismack Biyombo will also probably see some minutes off the bench. Malik Monk, see how he goes. He's really just a points and threes streamer, and he's been pretty up and down, but he is still going to get minutes. Although with Graham back, he'll sort of maybe fall back in the rotation a little bit there. The next game is the Knicks and the Wizards. So for the Wizards, we've got Beal, who's out for rest. Well, they're saying rest, but who knows why he's really out. The Knicks are fairly healthy tonight. So for the Knicks, it's really that guard rotation that we're keeping an eye on. We've got Derrick Rose there. So just seeing how the minutes look with Peyton and Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock and Manuel Quickley and Derrick Rose. It's still sort of unclear as to who's going to be the lead guard there. It seems like Peyton's going to start and Rose is going to come off the bench. But I think we've touched on that. Rose is probably worth picking up just to see how he goes. For the Wizards, with Beal out, Denny Avdia is someone to keep an eye on. He's yet to fully break out, but he's more of a sort of a stash guy. But with Beal out, he could be worth a look. And then also their centers. So Len is going to be starting again. He was good in the last game. It's really foul trouble that's limiting him at the moment. Lopez had a good game in the last one, but they left him on a little bit longer than I think they would normally, because he was sort of dominating Chris Boucher. So I think it's Len there that we want to be looking at. Okay, third game, Spurs and Hawks. So Derek White is playing. We assumed he would be playing, and it looks like he's going to start. And for the Hawks, I mean, we know who's out for them. There's no sort of late news or anything like that. For the Spurs, Derek White, seeing how he goes. He sort of started pretty well when he came back, and then cooled off. So I mean, he's still a hold, but yeah, he's going to take him a few games to get going. But hopefully today is the day. For the Hawks, I'm watching Cam Reddish. He's been pretty disappointing since sort of coming into the starting lineup and getting those minutes. So, look, I'm holding him in a couple of leagues, but it's tough. He hasn't been good. So I'm hoping he can get going. And Gallinari is another one. So his minutes restriction was bumped up to 30 in the last game. He didn't do a lot with the 30 minutes, but against the Knicks, maybe he can get going. So Reddish and Gallinari are the guys there that I'm watching. The Pelicans play the Mavericks. Let me scroll down on my sheet here. Pelicans play the Mavericks. So for the Pelicans, Kira Lewis is a guy who's been really impressive. He's sort of leapfrogged Nickeil Alexander-Walker in terms of notoriety and attention there. So watching how he goes. Eric Bledsoe continues to be pretty disappointing. I've dropped him in a league and I haven't regretted it yet. Maybe tonight he turns it on, but I'm just sort of keeping one eye on him just to see if he can sort of bring those defensive stats back, because that's where he's fallen off this season. For the Mavericks, Maxi Kleber has, since we started talking him up, he's been pretty disappointing. So watching him and Dwight Powell and seeing who's sort of taking the lead there with the center minutes. And also Jalen Brunson, who's carved out a really nice role for himself. And he's almost worth picking up in standard leagues. Probably not consistent enough yet to say that he needs to be rostered, but definitely someone to have on your watch list or pick up in deeper leagues. So Clippers and the Bulls is the next game. Really not a lot here. From the Bulls side of things, we know who's out, and we know who's producing. Kobe White was a lot better in the last game, so hopefully he can keep that going. Thad Young has cooled off a little bit, which is not completely surprising. Maybe tonight he can get going again. For the Clippers, Lou Williams has been very impressive the last few games after we'd sort of written him off earlier in the season. And Paul George is still out, so they're still going to need him for his scoring. And Pat Beverley returned in the last game and didn't play a lot of minutes, but we sort of said once Beverley's back, Reggie Jackson becomes a drop. So just watching how their playing time goes in this game and sort of whether Beverley is creeping up and then Jackson's falling off slightly. So before we get to the next game, just a reminder, if we have picked up a few viewers since I started. If you can give us a thumbs up down the bottom there, that would be really good, really appreciated. We're trying to boost the numbers for this show and for all of our shows on YouTube. And subscribe to our channel as well. I mean, that's the easiest way for you to sort of stay up to date with everything that's happening. And the Twitter handle there, mine, and the Hoopball at Hoopball Fantasy Twitter handle as well. Both worth a follow. Okay, we're up to Clippers Bulls. So we're up to Pistons and Celtics. So for the Pistons, Mason Plumlee's out again with his elbow thing. It is a bursitis, which I have a bursitis in my shoulder, and I've had it for years, and it comes and it goes and it flares up. When it does flare up, it's pretty painful. So I would assume that's the issue here for Plumlee, is that he's got this bursitis and he's done something and it's flared up. So it's really just a matter of resting it and waiting for the pain to go away. So it's not a long-term thing, but it does sound like it's going to keep him out for, well, at least the yesterday and today, and then we'll see from here. So with Plumlee out, we're looking at Isaiah Stewart, who was really good in his first start for them yesterday. So I've picked him up in the league. It's really, I guess, plug him in and see. The Pistons, as we know, they're not going anywhere. So there is, I mean, maybe they move Stewart into that starting lineup and Plumlee's sort of phased out slowly. But I mean, they are paying him a fair bit of money, so I wouldn't think that they're going to take him out of the rotation altogether. But we could see Stewart start to trend up a little bit. So that's sort of who I'm watching there. Josh Jackson as well, who's been really good the last couple of games after his hot start, and then he cooled off. For the Celtics, we've got Kemba Walker's out with due to rest, that sort of thing. So with him out, Peyton Pritchard is a really strong pickup today. He was good yesterday, didn't have a lot outside of his 20 points, but definitely worth picking up. And just keeping an eye on Jaylen Brown as well. We've had word that he's got a bit of an ankle thing going on. So it does. I mean, there's no word that he's going to miss today's game or anything, but just keeping an eye on him and his, I guess, his level of play and whether he looks hobbled at all. And Daniel Tice, who sort of emerged as the centre that we want to have on our rosters there in Boston. Always just keeping one eye on him and watching his production. Thunder play the Nuggets. For the Thunder, Shea is out again, along with a whole lot of other players. Isaiah Roby is questionable. So we're watching Hamidou Diallo. He's been, again, really good and getting really nice rebound numbers, which is not sort of what we would expect from him, but I've added him in quite a few leagues. He is going to hurt your percentages, but that's not sort of unheard of for any waiver wire pickup, really, and a guy who is thrust into a bigger role. And Kenrick Williams, who we talked about on the last podcast, he sort of has the ability to put up numbers there. So, yeah, look, he's worth, I think, streaming in again. For the Nuggets, Gary Harris is out again. We haven't got any word on when he's going to be back. So we're watching Michael Porter Jr. He was really good in their last game. The minutes were down a bit, but it was a blowout. So it's hard to know how many minutes he would have played. Hopefully it was the start of a turnaround for him. So, he's rostered everywhere, I would assume. So we're not watching him in terms of picking him up or anything like that. And Jermichael Green, again, he's another player that we hyped a little bit, and then he fell off a cliff. So maybe tonight is a night where he can get going against the Thunder. The Bucks play the Jazz. For the Jazz, Mike Conley is still out. We don't have word on a time frame or anything for his return, but given that he's had hamstring issues before, he's likely to miss a few games. So with him out, Joe Ingles is obviously the player that we're watching. There's not a lot other than that for the Jazz. We know what they look like, and they're playing really well, so they're not going to make too many changes. For the Bucks, Holiday remains out due to health and safety protocols. So we're looking at Bryn Forbes as the pickup if you need points and threes. Doesn't do much outside of that. And then Dante DiVincenzo has been really good since Holiday went down. So seeing if he can keep things going, and hopefully once Holiday does come back, DiVincenzo has sort of got a bit of that confidence back, and he's able to keep the production going. What have we got? 3 games left. So we're getting there. Grizzlies play the Lakers. For the Grizzlies, they've got a lot of players out. Brandon Clark is out again. DeAnthony Melton is out again. Desmond Bain is also out for personal reasons, I believe. So we're watching Kyle Anderson there. He's been really good. He had 27, I think, in their last game. So I think he is a clear pickup at the moment. And then also looking at Gorgie Dieng, who, he was sort of out of the rotation before Valanciunas went down with his health stuff. But since he came back, it seems that Dieng has actually sort of overtaken Tillman in the rotation. So, yeah, look, with no Clark there and still no Jaren Jackson, maybe Dieng can have a nice game tonight. For the Lakers, Anthony Davis is questionable. I don't think we have an update on him yet. Alex Caruso is probable. LeBron, I think, is probable, but he's always probable, so we don't really pay too much attention there. So it's just Taylor Horton Tucker that I'm watching again. He he's been up and down. He wasn't good in the last game. We're sort of relying on him for his defensive stats, and we didn't get that. So hopefully tonight he can sort of turn things around and start getting some stats again. Because if he doesn't tonight, I'm probably going to sort of move on. I'm holding him in a couple of leagues, but yeah, hopefully he can get my sort of earn my trust again tonight. The Cavs play the Blazers. So for the Cavs, Colin Sexton has cooled way off after his hot start to the season. He's had a couple of ankle injuries, so whether that's something that's bothering him, there's no word that it is an issue, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is. So keeping an eye on Sexton and just watching his level of play, and I guess similar to Jaylen Brown a little bit, just monitoring how he's going. And Dylan Windler has been pretty impressive as well. So he's more of a deep league guy at the moment, but just keeping an eye on his production. For the center rotation there, Drummond is still starting, but it sort of seems like a matter of time before Allen may take that role. They are starting Allen at the 4, which is a little bit weird because they have other options that they can use, but I guess at least it gets him on the floor. But playing next to Drummond obviously takes away a lot of his upside because Drummond basically gets every rebound that's available. For the Blazers, Robert Covington, I think Alan talked sort of about him yesterday. He's been a top 40 guy, and then yesterday he just stunk it up and he was terrible. So I'm hoping that he can get things back on track today. And Gary Trent, he's probably sort of rostered in a lot of leagues now. And he's really only giving you points and threes, but he is getting some steals, and his field goal percentage is, it's trash. But again, that's not unheard of for these waiver wire guys. So before we get into the final game, just a quick reminder to give us a thumbs up down the bottom. Again, we've had a few more people jump in since we started, so subscribe and like, and jump over to Twitter once we're done and follow us. And I'll be up, once I'm done here, I'll be updating all the player blurbs from the last 20 minutes and sort of getting that news out about ins and outs for tonight. So the final game is the Magic and the Kings. So for the Magic, they've barely got a squad at the moment. It does sound like Michael Carter-Williams will play tonight, so that's good. That gives them another body on the floor, but he's going to be really rusty because he hasn't played for a long time. Frank Mason is out. He was a strong pickup last night and then lasted 4 minutes before he injured his groin, I believe. Cole Anthony and Evan Fournier are both questionable. I'm just seeing if we have had an update on them because they have an early game. Let's have a look. So I'll read through some of these as well. So Blake Griffin is playing tonight, which there wasn't word that he wasn't going to play, but it is a back-to-back, so that's encouraging that he's playing. Nothing about the Magic yet. So. Yeah, so look, no word on Fournier. I'm hoping he plays. I have him in a few leagues, but I don't think he will. This is an ongoing issue for him. And Cole Anthony, again, I have him in a couple of leagues, so I'm hoping he plays. But we'll wait and see. So with almost half their roster out, James Ennis has been really good, and he's not the most appealing fantasy guy, but he's going to be on the floor. He has to be. So. And Chuma Akiki, who Alan touched on yesterday as well, he looks okay. More of a deep league guy and just someone to watch in standard leagues. I wouldn't be adding him or anything like that. For the Kings, Marvin Bagley is questionable with an injury. I think it's a calf injury. I wrote the blurb and I don't even remember what I wrote. So Bagley may or may not play. And I do remember in the blurb I put that it doesn't really move the needle a lot because he probably shouldn't be on a lot of rosters in standard leagues. And so I guess if he doesn't play, it just gives other players a bit more of a boost. It means Whiteside might see a little bit more of the floor. And Harrison Barnes, who's been really good this season, has actually sort of slowed down a little bit of late. So we'll just see if he can get going. I mean, playing the Magic is obviously going to be a favourable matchup for any team at the moment. So that's sort of it, guys. I think that covers most of what I'm looking at based on what we know at the moment. As I said, if you do go over and follow us on Twitter at Hoopball Fantasy, the blurbs will all be coming out there in the next few minutes as I start pumping them out. Follow me as well at AdamKing91, and then in terms of this YouTube show, you can see the thumb down the bottom. Click that and subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate that. So good luck for tonight's games. I think I'll be back tomorrow. I think we're doing, we are trying to do a show every day. There will be the odd day that we miss, but I think I'll be back on tomorrow, and there will be less games, so we should be able to cover them a little bit quicker. But yeah, good luck for tonight, and thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later.